So what I'm gonna do right now, just because I've had it on my mind, I want to move those lights further out because that's where I want them to be eventually anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So like I said earlier, I want the lights were right here, and before I get the receiver hitch bolted up back here, which is going to utilize a lot of these bolts under here, I want to make sure the placement of the lights is as far back as possible, because the bed's going to be pretty long and I want to make sure these are all the way back. So instead of just doing this, I'm actually going to go even further and make it, you know, go all the way out. But I don't want it to be, you see how it's angled? So I went from that side to over here. That way it's 1 inch further back. And I'm just going to use these very back holes. And I'm just going to put some washers on it. And then I'll have to turn the lights around on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. As you can see, the lights are probably about 6 inches further back than they were before. Alright, so we finally got our trailer hitch for this truck. It took us forever. We had to call so many different people to get information on this. It's ridiculous. We tried to order it from Ford. They wanted $900 just for this. I was like, I'm not paying $900 for that. And after a bunch of struggling and going back and forth, Christina finally found this online for $350. So, and that's free shipping. And if it didn't fit right, they said just ship it back and we'll send you a label. So that's awesome. We measured everything and it should be right. So we're gonna try it out. This thing has just been hard. That's all I gotta say. This gas tank is what makes everything so difficult. The way they molded the gas tank, it goes under the frame, so the gas tank comes from the bottom. Stupid design, and if you ask me, I would have left enough room to bolt accessories up to it. But what we did is we started with the one in the front over here. What it has is these carriage bolts with these squares, and it goes into the receiver hitch to where it holds itself. But to get that joker up there, especially on this one right here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me get a light. So you see that bolt right here, the silver one? It's not a grade 8 bolt like they recommend. It's also not the same size. But like I said, that gas tank, I'm not dropping that whole gas tank just to get this one bolt in there. It's all overbuilt anyway. It's overkill. We also have, the way it works right here is because I moved the lights back. They were right here, the lights. This interferes with that, so we had to remove the light bracket, put this back, and then we're going to put the light bracket back on. Anyway, that's where we're at so far. So the last receiver hitch that we got was wrong. It was probably about this wide, and this thing was all the way up in here. Like the gas tank was just all in the way. And I should have known when they said just drop the spare tire in the instructions temporarily to put your receiver hitch on it. That should have been a red flag right there. But you see all this room, that's how it's supposed to be. So another thing we got was this plug. It's just a wiring harness adapter to where you don't have to cut your factory plugs. And I don't have them with me, but when you're looking, these things are really hard to unplug. But when you're looking for what plug you need, don't be mistaken by looking at it, because they have these little caps that go on it, and you can't really tell what the plug's supposed to look like. You have to take those caps off in order to find out which plug goes in which. We're gonna put a link in the description of the video to show this part number. We got it from Kurt, same people we got the receiver hitch from. This is the name brand. We didn't get it from Kurt. We got it from Car ID and .com, or is it just Car ID?
I'll put the link in the description.
Okay. So we paid like $360 for this shipped. That was tax and everything, huh?
Yes.
Couldn't beat that. Then we got this wiring harness, which was like 20 bucks. Another 20 to ship it. And this thing's real hard to unplug too. Once it plugs in good. I'm actually gonna get, this is how this piece came. It came with this, the harness. But I'm gonna unplug this and get the one that has the 4-pin connector and the round connector here, because I want to be able to use both of them. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like for the time being until I get started on the bed. At least I can pull a trailer if I need to. And I just have this part tie wrapped on for now to plug my 7-way up.
He's all hooked up to the trailer.
I'm curious to see what the gas mileage is going to be. Right now it's holding steady about 12.5. So we're gonna watch it for the whole week and see what we get.
I got some 4-inch C-channel, 3/16 thick. I got 3 pieces cut so far. About to cut the 4th piece. The dimensions on this bed is 76 3/4 or 6'4" 3/4 by 117 or 9'9". Pretty good cut. I'm just gonna clean it up with the grinder. Probably hard to see on camera, but the new piece in the middle right here is sitting about a 1/4 inch lower than the rest. That's because the concrete is not perfectly level. And I'm using this piece of OSB as a square. It has 2 factory cuts on it on the outside, and that's the side I'm going to use just to kind of help square everything up. I'm also going to do a measurement corner to corner and make sure everything's square before I weld it. Alright, got all 4 pieces cut for the frame. I'll show you the measurements. The tape measure is not pulled tight, but you can see that's 10 foot. And then over here, still not pulled tight, but that's around 80 inches. And I still have my corners to cut to go in there. Alright guys, so I got 2 of the corners made. I just have them come in place. I'm going to weld the gaps up, grind them down, give it kind of a rounded appearance. There's this one. I just wrote some 117 inches on the outsides. So for the video, if y'all are building it, and y'all need to, if y'all want to do it the exact same size, or use it as a reference. So me and Christina's been kind of brainstorming to see how we want to do the rub rail and the stake pockets for the side. I was originally going to do 3 stake pockets because I think that would be plenty. Christina thought 4 would be better. So I started looking at it, and I started thinking about it. The wheel, I'm going to probably need to cut the C-channel here for clearance. Well, I may have to. I don't think I have to, but I may have to. And if I do that, that stake pocket's going to be in the way. So I decided to do 4. The way I did it is from this line to the center of it, 12 inches. And then I went from the center, I did 117 divided by 2, and I made my mark. I think it's 58.5 if I'm not mistaken. And then I came from here and I centered another one at 18 inches. And what that did is it gave me 32 inches between this and this, the size of the tire's diameter. So you got 24 inches between these two and 32 between the middle one. And I think that'll look pretty good. So right here, I'm gonna, weld it in place right here on the top and on the bottom on each stake pocket. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to put a C-clamp on here and squeeze it down. And once this part meets right here, I'll go ahead and weld it in, and that way it'll just go at an angle. Alright, got this corner done. Only one left to do. Took me like, I want to say 15 minutes just to cut that and grind it and make it fit just right. Okay, off to the next thing. I got my 2-inch angle iron, 1/8 inch thick. I've got it cut to the full length to the inside wall of the C-channel. And I notched it out on both sides, like so, to where it's flush. And what I have is a 2x4 and a piece of rubber to space it out. The piece of rubber is just a little extra for whenever we do the vinyl liner in it. It's going to add thickness to it, so I need to compensate for that. So the reason I have the 2x4s in there is because I'm going to have a wood deck on the flatbed, and this is the angle iron that I'm going to screw down to. One right here. The boards are going to kind of be tucked into the C-channel all the way around. That way you don't see the edges and everything's protected. So that's what the 2x4 is under there. So basically the deck is upside down. So I guess the next thing to do is to cut down these to size. And they have to fit this way. So let's get on that. Alright, so the measurement I'm coming up with inside the C-channel from front to back is 119.5. I'm going to start with that. I may have to trim a little bit to see how long I'm going to need it. So I got it set up a little bit here. The metal is pretty much flush, just like I showed before. And the wood right here to here is 12 inches all the way through on both sides. And the reason for that, I've been kind of brainstorming on where to put the spare tire. So the fuel tank's right here. Most spare tires on trucks, they fit there, and the fuel tank's up there. Well, mine is right here, so my only option is to put it on the back of the headache rack or on top of the headache rack going over the cab of the truck, which I'm not too fond of that idea. I want to keep everything as low as possible. And I don't have a problem with it being on the back of the headache rack that way, but The spare tire's anywhere from 11 to 12 inches wide. And, you know, that's going to take up a lot of real estate here on this platform. And the mowers, when they drive up, I need it to go as far up as possible. And I'll be bumping in that tire, so that's not going to work. So I watched a video a while back. This guy, he did a Ford truck flatbed, and he did his spare tire going vertically, going into the bed right here. Not all the way down flush. Basically the top half was sticking out, and then the bottom half was right below the rail, which it didn't look bad at all. I liked it. And what's good about that is from there to there, I can go all the way up, and you know, I just have a little bit right here, a tire poking out. So I went and measured it. So from the outside of this board to that outside of that board is pretty close to 53 inches. So I just might do that. I think I'll have enough room if I wanted to back the mower up or drive it forward. Not really concerned about the deck right there because I don't think it would interfere. Alright, so I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I'm building this flatbed pretty much upside down. That's why the wood is all the way towards the floor. So it would be flipped over. I don't know if I mentioned that. So my spare tire is going to be on the passenger side right here. So technically the spare tire is going to be right there, you know, flipped over right here. Alright, so I made another change. Originally I had this angle line here on this mark and this one on this mark, and it's 32 inches between these two, but I was looking at the distance between them. I think this is a little bit better. I think it's 39 inches, 40 inches, and 39 inches. So that's the spare tire. It's right at 11 inches wide, and it's 32 in diameter. Actually it's 31, but I'm rounding up. And that's where the tire would be. The top of the tire would come right to the top of this, even with that right there. And the bottom of it will be right even with the step right here. So if you can picture the spare tire right there, and the tire would probably start right here, and the other side would be like right here, and then the frame of the bed right here. So the way I designed the bed on the corners, how they see how the cab right here rounds, that I had an angle. I'm hoping to replicate that same look on the bed, and it goes out right here. Alright, so it's been a minute since I turned on the camera. Got a little ahead of myself, but I got all the wood cut out. This is my little opening for my spare tire. Remember I said it's upside down, so it's going to be on the passenger side. So I got my square tubing that runs right here along the frame rails, and I was thinking about just, you know, welding it to the C-channel here and to the angle iron, and then flipping it over and, you know, mounting it to the frame rails of the truck. The only problem with that is the bed's going to be sitting too high for my taste. Most of the aftermarket beds, or the beds that you buy, they sit a little high. The platform of it, I should say. And that's one of the main reasons I'm building my own bed, is because I didn't want it to sit so high. I'm going to be loading mowers on here and everything, so I need it to be as low as possible. Not to mention I got a 4-wheel drive truck, so it's just way up in there already. So it'd be kind of defeating the purpose if I went this route, because you get like 6 inches off the frame rails. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch out the angle line to where that will set down, and then tuck it into the C-channel here, and then, you know, weld everything up. And I may come back and put some more reinforcements in between. Alright guys, so I'm notching this angle iron up. I have to basically cut out this section here for my square tubing to drop in. So what I'm doing is I'm using the chop saw, and I'm just going down until it meets right here. And I'm I'm gonna have to take an angle grinder and cut it this way. So I have my little cutout. Now I just gotta take an angle grinder, cut right here, take those pieces out. So I also wanted to mention, while I got the wood stacked up over here, I figured out how much each board weighed, added up all together. The treated wood, all that treated wood over there weighs about 400 pounds. And I compared it to how much it would weigh if I went with a steel floor, the 1/8 inch diamond plate. And it came up to about the same amount of weight from what I figured up as far as the per square foot of the bed. And so the weight is the same if you're trying to make a decision if you want to go with wood or metal. The metal's probably stronger. You know, it probably makes it a lot more rigid, but that depends on how good you make your frame. If you kind of go overkill like I did with 3/16, the wood's going to be just fine. All your frame, all your load capacity is going to fall on this. So I'm not really concerned about that, but I was concerned about the price. The price of steel is outrageous, especially the sheets of steel, the 4x8 sheets. And it's probably a third of the price. Going with the wood will last at least a decade before I'd have to replace it. I have these screws I'm going to use to screw it down with. 2 3/4 self-drilling screws, wood to metal, and they look like that. So in hindsight, I probably could have went with 1/8 inch wall thickness on everything and probably would have been just fine. Probably saved a couple of 100 pounds too, but and cheaper. But I wanted to make sure it was good, and it's definitely gonna be solid. I found some used metal that I had, some square tubing light duty that I'm gonna cut to fit in between here and here, and there and there. Also all the way across here. This one's already the right size, and that's pretty much where it's going to sit. And all that's doing is keeping the wood, it's going to fit in the channel, but it's going to keep it, you know, from moving. Another thing I'm probably going to have to do when it's time to install the boards, because as you can see, it's about a 1/16 too high. So in hindsight, I probably should have went with maybe a 5-inch C-channel to give a little bit more play all the way around. But we're gonna make it work. It's gonna work great. Okay, so I got all the pieces cut to fit. As you can see, as it gets towards the C-channel, it lifts up a little bit. That's because I need to notch it like these in order for the wood to be able to go into the C-channel the right way. Otherwise I'd have to trim the wood all the way around the edges, and I don't want to do that. So all 4 corners are going to need to get trimmed so it's set down. But I got them all cut to fit. I have to grind all the paint or the primer that's on it so it'll weld properly. I've got this one close to a foot from the back, kind of the weight transfer, you know, that's where a lot of the traffic's going to be getting onto the trailer, and that way it'll support the load best right there, I think. And I'll move these all the way to the front pretty much, because I'm gonna have my spare tire on the passenger side right here, and I'm gonna need room. I got about 36 inches in between it, so it should be plenty. I just wanted all of them to go across the same way, that's why I moved them all up. Alright, so we're gonna see if it's square. We're gonna measure corner to corner, and we're gonna measure the width in the back and the front, side to side, all around, upside down. Here we go. So what I'm doing is telling Christina to put the line that's on the 2-inch mark. That way the end of the tape measure doesn't, you know, mess you up. It's more accurate. And we're at 142. At 142, strictly square. And then we're going to measure across. It should be perfect. 79 and 7/8. 79 and 7/8. So I got this little welder here from Harbor Freight, the little titanium 140. Just bought it. Did a few little small projects with it. It works pretty good. I think it was like $500 after tax or something like that. Alright y'all, so we got in the jack stands. We went ahead and started tacking everything together. Unfortunately, I ran out of gas for the welder. So, but I did manage to get everything tacked, and I just kind of grinded down the tops to where they had the gaps in the metal, just to kind of give an idea. Alright y'all, so I just made it back. Got my gas filled for my welder. Good to go again. I've been at it for probably an hour or so. And I just decided to go ahead and fully weld this side. I'm pretty confident it's going to fit. But I welded the inside and the outside. I'm all grinded down right there. Alright y'all, I'm calling it a night. I've been at it for about 3 hours I guess, welding. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, my back hurts, my hands hurt. Alright y'all, so help showed up. We got this little motor hoist thing. We're going to try to maneuver it with that. I'm going to flip it over first and turn it around, and we're going to try to stick it on that truck. See how it fits. Stay tuned. Trimmer racks will probably be like right here. You have one here, one here. We're also going to have the blower on here, probably one right here. Alright, so this is kind of the layout here. The tire is going to be right here, the blower right here. Unfortunately, the blower has to poke out a little bit because I didn't. So the blower sticks out 6 inches. Right here, I'll have some kind of, something to hold this down when I put it on.
It also has the rub rail there too, so
Yeah, I'm gonna have a rub rail going on
it'll
right
be
here.
a little bit more going on there.
Yep. But as you can see, right up in here, all I got to do is make a plate that that holds like a spare tire mount, and then weld it or bolt it to the inside of this. And all I need is just enough room to unbolt it and slide it over about 3/4 of an inch and lift it out. But I got just enough clearance, as you can see right here and right here. I got about 2 inches from the angle line to here, but the wood is like right up to it. What I may do is put me a board up in here just to kind of close it up. This is where this side will be. I have one trimmer and another trimmer. I have a rack coming up here. I'm sorry, a bar holding the trimmer rack, and a bar here. And it'll be just the opposite, the mirror image on that side. And that's how far the blower will be poking out.
Now the mirror is folded in right now
Yeah.
to get into the shop.
Working on the flatbed again. I had to back it in the shop, got caught in the rain outside. I was trying to work on it outside because it's so big, it takes up my whole shop. But let me show you what I got going on. So, first of all, right here, I've got some 3/8 flat bar right there. And underneath it's just some little rubber shims. Just some, I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what I got going on. Right here is just some rubber material that I'm going to use as to isolate it from metal to metal, basically. And I'm going to weld them to this 2x2. And I have it over here, same way. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just lifting up above these rivets, and also just to make sure I got clearance, a little bit more clearance everywhere and level. So I got 6 of those. Got 1, 2, and 3. And also have some straps here that I'm working on. I got 3 on each side. And those are also 3/8 by 2-inch flat bar. So what I'm going to do is have it welded on the 2-inch tubing, and it's going to be bolted with a 3/4 inch or maybe 5/8, whatever fits in the factory hole. Grade 8 bolt. I'll have 6 all together holding it down. So I also did something a little different. I moved the bed back just a little bit. I was told that you're not supposed to mount your bed too close to the truck, so in case you get rear-ended or something, you have a little bit of play, you know, just in case something bends. It shouldn't move, but just to be sure, if something bends or something, you won't hurt your truck. You'll have a little bit of play. That way you can take the bed off, do your repair, and put it back on. So more than likely you're going to kind of see right here, so I might make like a little cover depending on how the toolbox situation goes here. And also the headache rack is going to come, you know, like right here, 2x4 square tubing. Alright, I wanted to show you how I came up with my line right here. So all I did was I measured halfway right here, and I put a T-square and I lined it up in the center of the hub going right down the middle. And all I did was tie a string to my marker here, and I put it on that mark where I marked it, and then I held it the bottom of the wire at the center of the hub, and I just did this. And then I came back with a grinder with a little cutoff wheel and just kind of made my mark just in case the marker washes away or whatever. That way I'll know where I need to cut it. Alright, here's another view, close up. And about 3.5, 4 inches. About 3.5 is how much clearance I got before this bottoms out. So here's another look right here. Alright y'all, so I kind of quit documenting for a little while. Figured I'd turn the camera on. So I went ahead and welded all 6 brackets, 3 on each side. I say I welded, I didn't weld it. I like to take credit for those nice welds, but that was our good buddy Brandon, who's building our 71 truck. Did that for us, and he also poked some holes in it with his plasma cutter. He also helped take it on and off for us. So big shout out to him. But this is what I'm rolling with for a little while. I gotta build this bed in stages because, you know, we've got a full-time job and, you know, mowing grass and stuff, so kind of doing this a little bit at a time. But yeah, we went ahead and cut those out. So now we got clearance if we put a load on it. Obviously we're not gonna put a load on it until the wood's on it. And this is just temporary. The same thing, you know, that I had on it before, just to help block rocks and stuff. But yeah. Alright y'all, so I'm out here trying to fit this spare tire in here. That's how it's gonna look, just like that. So what I'm doing is I'm making a plate that goes around here. I think it's like right at 8 inches, 8.25 inches. And I bought 4 studs to where I'll have 4 studs, you know, bolting through that plate, and the plate will be mounted to this right here. I didn't really have any sheets of 3/16, I went at least 3/16 thick, and so I had this piece here, which wasn't quite big enough to make the circle, but I had a piece of this, so I just went ahead and cut a little piece. I'm going to go ahead and weld that, and then I'll put it against the wheel and drill my holes. So this is actually a block off plate for a mulch kit for our old Exmark, which I haven't used in a long time, so I'm going to put it to use now. Alright, so I got that welded together and ground it down. Now it's one. Let's see how that looks in there. So as you can see, the plate fits perfect in there. I'm just gonna go on the back side with a marker, draw 4 holes, and then go ahead and get those fitted in there. So all I'm doing here is using a step bit to go over each one, and I'm doing it just enough for this stud to fit through, because you don't want to go too big. You want this so whenever you use an impact and you run this in, that'll just tighten up right there. You may have to actually use some washers to pull it because the metal's so thin, but that's the idea right there. I'm gonna go ahead and go this last one out with the impact. Alright, so I got the first stud in, and in case you were wondering, this is just an automotive replacement stud for like a wheel. So you can buy these at any auto parts store, about $3, $4, $5 depending on where you get them. But you want to get it just big enough. You see how it's kind of tapered? And see this? You want to make it a little bit bigger to where it just meets that thread, just barely. And what I'm using is the step bit because it kind of bevels it and kind of guides it in there. So I'm going to have to make these a little bit bigger. Alright, so I'm going to put a stud in to show you how I do it. Like I said, you want it to be about like that. So you can't push it in any further up to those little lines. And then, because the metal's so thin, I need to put a few washers on it because I'll run out of thread as I'm pulling it, and as you tighten this up, it's going to pull that in. And the impact is the best thing because it'll take you a while in the other way. And then you pull it off. And you get, those won't ever come out unless you beat them out or press them out. So I'm going to put these other two and we'll go from there. So I just put these lug nuts on just as spacers for now, because that's probably where I'm going to need it to be. And I'm going to have it like so. And then I'll have a piece of pipe, weld it to this and then weld it to the inside of this. So if you want to look on the other side, how much thread is there. I have enough to put a nut on the back. Alright, so I got the tire in place. This is exactly where I want it to be. I'm leaving a little bit of a gap so the rubber doesn't touch this. Also right here, I've got something spacing it out so it doesn't touch this. And over here, the rubber is spacing it out. So this is where it's going to sit pretty much. This piece of square tubing is 4 inches long, 1/8 inch thick. And what I'm going to do is weld it to the plate first, and then unbolt it from the wheel, take the wheel out, drive the truck inside, and then weld it to the inside frame of this. So what I'm going to do right now is just kind of see where it's going to fit, and that's where it is, just sitting there. And I'm going to make my mark here, that way I know where to weld it centered on the inside right here. And I'm just going to eyeball it. Roughly 3 inches all the way around. So we'll just leave that sitting there, and then we'll go ahead and weld this in place. Alright, so I got some blankets on here. This is like, it's kind of like a welding blanket. I know that's what that is. This is like a painter's blanket, but same kind of material. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the metal on this inside of here and weld this, you know, center it on the inside, maybe my mark where I want it, and that's where it's going. Alright, so I just went on the sides of the square tubing, one on this side, one on that side. It'd be kind of hard to make anything look good on the top and the bottom, and not a whole lot of water is going to be getting up in here. Hopefully the paint will seal that crack. So that's all I'm worried about, if water gets back there, but I think in that channel it'll be fine. Alright, let's mount this tire in. Alright y'all, so what I ended up doing is I got this little light gauge pipe, and I'm using it as shims or spacers. And the reason I'm putting those in there is because if you keep tightening down, the rubber rides against this. So I'm just going to put these little shims in place to keep it about 1/4 of an inch off the metal. And right before, next time I take the bed off before it goes to paint or whatever, I'll probably just tack these in place, just so that they'll stay in line for this wheel here. Alright, so as you can see, I've got a space I can almost stick my fingers between here, 1/4 of an inch here. There you go. The back will have space once this thing is going. That's just temporary. And if you want to look at the back side, so I don't want to have too much thread hanging out, because I want to be able to pull the wheel out and then up, and I didn't want to have to pull it out too far because I have this thing right here, because you don't want to hit that. So I want to have it just enough to pull off and get it out. But there we go, that's done. Alright, so what I ended up doing is just cutting this this rubber. That's the flap that's going over there, because it's not really doing any good right now because of the tire, and it was making like noise going down the road. So I went ahead and just cut that, because I don't know if you can see there's a gap now. Alright y'all, just got a package in today from Amazon. I ordered 8 steak pockets, pre-made already, 3/16 thick. 35 bucks for 8 of them. I'll take it. It's cheap. You can't even buy the metal and cut it yourself for cheaper than that. But they fit really well. Alright y'all, I'm working at night, so I hope y'all can see this. But as you can see, or you might not be able to see, I've got a piece of angle iron, 3/16, 2-inch, bolted. I just have it self-tapped for now, but I'm going to have some 1/2-inch bolts going in there later, 4 of them, and that's where my headache rack is going to bolt to the front bottom of the bed, and then I'll have some gussets that'll be welded to the bed and bolted to the headache rack, because in case it does get in an accident or something gets bent, I'd like to be able to unbolt it and repair whatever got damaged. So I've got the angle iron on there. You see where it stops, and I'll show you what next I did. Alright, so hopefully you can see this. What I did is I notched out this 2x4 square tubing, like so, all the way through, and it goes all the way down. And what I'm going to do is weld it to that angle iron, and I'll probably reinforce it some more once it's, you know, on there. I'll show you what I'm doing next. So that's pretty much where it's going to sit. And what I did is I made a slice with the chop saw all the way through, and I'm going to make a few slices consecutively, and I'm going to bend it to where I need it to go, and then once I got my angle I need, I'm going to weld it back. I haven't seen people really do that approach, but I'm going to try it. So this is what I'm basically doing, just taking the chop saw, and I'm going to try cutting it probably 3/8 of an inch apart. I'm going to make 3 cuts, and then I'm going to bend it to see if I can get enough angle that I'm looking for. Just so a reference point, it's roughly about 20 inches is when I started doing the bends. You can see where the cuts are. That's up from the bottom of the tube up. Just with those 3 cuts, I got a pretty good bend on it. It's probably only half the distance I needed to bend, so I'm going to do 3 more pie cuts like that. Not really a pie cut, but a slice, I should say. And I'm just going to continue to go this way. So that's where it's going to sit pretty much, like so. Maybe bend it in a little bit more. What I might do is start making a bend right there, you know, where it gets to that corner where the black separation is. Maybe do another bend there like I did here. And from this point to about the 2-foot mark is when it starts bending again at the top of the corner of the glass. So I'm going to do probably about 6 or 7 like this to get it to bend again. Another thing, make sure you wear your mask doing this, because that stuff gets airborne. Alright y'all, so that's pretty much what it looks like on that side. I'm going to go ahead and tack weld all the cuts that I made to hold that shape, and I'm going to replicate it one for this side. I'm going to make it just the same, and the bar that connects the 2 on the top, it's going to go just above where the 3rd brake light is, so you're going to be able to see red all the way around the window, kind of like an outline of the window. At least that's what I'm shooting for. All right, there's a view from the side. So basically what I did is I tacked each one, but I didn't, you know, do 1, 2, 3. I kind of skipped around because I don't want to put too much heat in one area. It might warp it or twist it. I did all of them like that. I just kind of skipped around everywhere. And what I'm gonna probably do is just do a little piece here, then I'll go over here and do a little piece here, let that one cool down. It'll be a slow process, but at least it won't pull or warp. So basically all I did was measure from the end of this to here, which I think came to almost 20 inches. And I just made my first cut and I counted how many I went. And I think it's 7. Yeah, I did 7 slices in this one. So I did the same thing here, about 3/8 of an inch apart. And I did the same thing over here. I counted, I think I have 9 of them. Did the same amount there. Now all I have to do is bend it. I'm trying to let it cool down a little bit because it's kind of hard to touch, even with gloves. But I'm going to go ahead and bend it to the same as this. It doesn't take much effort to bend it either. That's pretty close right there. And then I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on this side. You don't want to put this part on this because it might hinder it. I'm putting it like right here. I'm pretty sure I went as far as I could with that one. But I'm going to see. Pretty close, huh?
Looks like it.
Alright, got them on top of each other. And they line up just right. Looking good. Now all I gotta do is weld that side up just like that one. Let it all cool down. And then grind them down. And I'll come back and do the sides. Alright. Alright, so we got them all welded up. This pipe is very, very hot, even with the gloves. That's all I gotta say. I skipped around so it didn't get overheated, but this whole thing is very, very hot. But it's all welded through and through, all the way around this side too. I'm gonna go ahead and grind it down. Alright, y'all. So I've been grinding for about 15 minutes, I guess, on this. It's pretty hard to get it perfect. As you can see, it's got some little dimples in it. I'm gonna sand some more on it, grind. But look at that outside. That outside looks nice. Alright y'all, so I'm calling it a night. I've been grinding for about 30 minutes, I guess. I started off with this kind of aggressive one to kind of get the majority of it off. And then I resorted to this, which polished it out pretty good, but it still has a few little, little crinkles in it. So I'm gonna sand on it tomorrow some more. See if I can get most of it out.
Tomorrow.
Alright y'all, so I went ahead and sanded on it some more. Looks a whole lot better. Apparently you just need the right tool for the right job. And I've got this big old grinder here, but I didn't have one of these. So I'm gonna get, it's either a 60 or 80 grit flap disc 7-inch from Harbor Freight. It was 15 bucks, but well worth it because I got a lot of it out of there. So this is Alright y'all, so another thing I did to the tire, spare tire mount, as you can see it kind of moves just a little bit. But whenever you get going down the road, I don't know if it's because the bed's not fully complete yet, but it just starts rocking a lot. So what I did is I went ahead and picked up one of these turnbuckles. I think that's what they call them. At Tractor Supply, like 20 bucks or something. And I had one of these laying around, just a chain link or a hook for a chain, I think it was. Got it in place. Looks like it's going to work good. The only thing I have to do is turn this. If you turn it one way, it gets tight. If you turn it the other way, it gets loose. So it's getting tight this way. And you just do it as much as you can by hand. And if you want it to be a little tighter, just put your screwdriver on it, like so. And give it 2 or 3 turns. And that's very tight. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem, as long as when I do my boards that I have enough room in this area, which I should, because the tire has to come out that way. So we'll address that when he gets there. Alright, so this is where I ended up doing it. Put it at the top up here, and I just stuck the screwdriver through the turnbuckle to tighten it up real tight. And got it hooked just like this, and it doesn't move at all. So that's going to work out good. Go ahead and connect those two together, tack everything together. So I don't know if you can see where I got the self-tap screws going through there. I'm going to pull those out and make the holes half-inch holes, and put some half-inch grade 8 bolts through them. This is going to get welded to the angle iron. And then after everything is built, I'm going to go ahead and reinforce the headache rack. I'm going to make some gussets right here. And it's going to be welded to the flatbed. It's going to be bolted to this point, but the gusset will. That way I can remove this if I want, if something gets damaged or bent. Alright y'all, so I got the truck pulled up close to the shop. That way my welding machine will reach easily. Got my negatives off my battery. Got my shield here. The only problem is it's very windy today, so I'm going to have a little issue welding, but luckily I'm only tacking it in place. So what I'm going to do is just put 1, 2, 3 tacks on this side and maybe 2 on this side. That way I can take the magnets off, turn the truck around, do the same thing on the other side. Alright y'all, hopefully you can hear me over all this wind out here, but got it tacked. Well, I got it welded on, I should say, on both sides right here. And right here. Looks pretty cool. I'm liking it. Nice. Alright y'all, so we just got the top piece just sitting in there. So let's see if I can show you this. Right there, I gotta fill that with some scrap metal when I'm done, when I'm fully welding it. So we unbolted the headache rack, brought it inside. I'm gonna go ahead and fully weld it in. So after it's all fully welded in and grinded and every little thing is finished on that, I'm gonna have a piece of either 3/16 or 1/4 inch plate welded right here, this little rectangle. Every, I don't know, 4 or 6 inches, I'm gonna have a bar probably about this diameter probably like 1/2 inch to 5/8. I'm gonna have some bars that go all the way across, and then probably 2 flat bars going here and here. So this is the front of the flatbed. Obviously the headache rack's upside down, but this part you're gonna see in front of the bed. So I'm gonna cap all of that off right here. I also have these I have to cap off where I cut my angles to make it fit. Gotta close those up. Alright y'all, just left the metal place. Got a sheet of 3/16 plate. So I got this one for $380 instead of $450 because of the piece missing. But I got this for the headache rack, and probably the gussets and whatever I got left over is going to go towards the storage box.
Hood Fab Shop?
Yeah, I'll see some of his stuff.
Pretty simple area.
Alright y'all, so I got my piece cut at the bottom of the headache rack. Got my magnets holding it in place. As you can see, there's a little bit of daylight all the way around, but that's okay. I'm gonna stitch weld it all the way around. I'm not gonna fully weld it because I heard if you do that, it'll tweak it and twist it. I'm just gonna put like a 2 or 3 inch long bead every, I don't know, 6 inches and see how that goes. So that's what I was talking about, skipping around because of the heat. As you weld it, it'll pull that plate everywhere. So I don't know if you saw the gap before, but there's a big gap. There's a big gap there now. Not too much there because the angle iron's bowed a little bit. And over here, what it was doing was pulling away this way. So I pushed it back even with angle iron. I'm gonna go ahead and tack it. What I probably should have done was danced around and not leave all the top for last, or the bottom I should say. It's upside down, but it's no big deal. Alright, yo, so I got it all stitch welded up. Some of them a little further apart than others, they're not evenly spaced. But I think it's going to work just fine. This is the front part in between the cab and the headache rack. I was going to leave it stitch welded on the sides like this, but I figured, well, my wife told me I should fill it in because it looked bad, so I went ahead and filled it in. Did this side too. So I was going to go on both sides of it and stitch it up, but I think this is going to be plenty. And I think it just looks better like this, you know, clean. So that's that. Now, next thing I'm going to focus on is capping these parts, closing those in, making those look better, as you can see that. Alright. Alright, y'all. So I had some leftover pieces of scrap iron that I had cut out here. And I'm just going to cap them off like this. I just shoved it in between there, took a hammer and wedged it in. So I'm going to burn that through there and weld that like so. Alright, y'all. So that's what that's looking like. Right there. Like so. So the C channel that it sits on kind of looks like that. So as you can see, there's a gap still right here. What I'm going to do is put another piece of flat bar right here, weld it in, just so it'll fit a little tighter, a little less rock action. Alright, y'all, so I got to grind it out. Got the C channel in here. You see how snug it fits? Not much play. That's what I want. So I finally got it done. A lot of grinding, but it looks good. I'm happy with it. This side is done and this side is done. I'm happy with it. Alright, so I went ahead and cut two little pieces of metal, 4 inches by 3/4 inches roughly. Grinded the paint off of it because I cut it off of this piece of landscaping trim. But I'm going to go ahead and stick those in there. Let's see what that looks like. So basically, I'm just going to stick it in there like that, weld it up, and grind it down. Alright, y'all. It's almost done. All I got left is the bars that protect the windows. I got these corners up top. Whoa. I got these corners up top done. And this is the cab side. Look at all the dust all this metal dust from grinding. God. Alright y'all, so what we're doing here is drilling holes into the side of the headache rack. We're going to use these bolts here, and this is going to bolt the gusset. This is going to bolt up to the gusset that's going to be welded to the flatbed. Alright y'all, so we got the headache rack bolted back up. Right here is the grade 8 bolts, 3.5 inches long. What I did is I drilled some larger holes and put some pipe through it. That way it makes it nice and strong, and when I mash down on these bolts, it doesn't, you know, crimp it down. And so that's what I did. I welded it in, grinded it down, and I'm just putting the bolts in here for now, just to see how much I have left over right here. Because what I'm gonna do is build my sides, and it's gonna bolt into here, and it'll be from the top. It'll fit inside of this area here, from here all the way up to here.
I'm in the night. Let's spark a light and see where it leads. Just you and me, hiding behind.
So we just got some angle iron sitting up here right now with some jack stands, and we got all kinds of stuff going on, but just to get a look of it. Also, we're gonna have a gusset maybe about this size, maybe bigger, that's going to bolt into here, and it's going to be welded to the bed. So at all times the gusset will stay to the bed, but this can get unbolted out. Right here, we got some angle iron, 2-inch angle iron. I'm thinking about doing 2-inch all the way around, like a rectangle side going here. And as you can see, it sits in about 4 or 5 inches from the edge. That's where my trimmer racks and blowers are gonna hang. So, as you can see, the sides over here, it fits underneath this part. I don't want the rails to go any higher than that. And the tires right here, so if you could imagine this going all the way right here, it would hit the tire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a piece that goes all the way, but I'm gonna notch it out, just kind of like I did right here, over that. And I'll have the support going down here, and support here, and expanded metal, so it'll be super strong.
So just give it a finished look.
Yep. Alright y'all, so we just got this little piece of flat bar mocked up with the stool, getting the angle and stuff. That's where the dovetail is going to be. That flat bar is 30 inches long, and I got it as low as I can go in the back to where I can still hook my trailer up even. So with the 30-inch dovetail from the headache rack all the way to the front, as far as it'll go, all the way to the back here, is 12.5 foot long. So that's definitely long enough to put a small sit-down zero turn and a stander. So I just got this piece of flat bar laying down. It's a 10-foot long span, and it's bent and it's on a hill, so it's kind of hard to judge, but just to get a rough idea on what kind of a climb that'll be to get into bed, it's really not that bad. I mean, that's not much of an incline. So what it would be is a bifold gate that folds up and goes like this against the dovetail, and that would be 2 3.5 foot tall or long spans that would fold up against here. So you have a 3.5 foot and a 3.5 foot, total of 7 foot from here to the dovetail to get that kind of a slope. So I'm about to cut the gussets out using the same as the headache rack, the 3/16 plate. And this is going to be one, and that's going to be one. This is just going to be a notch out for where the angle iron is on the bottom. And this is where the bolts will go. It'll bolt to the headache rack here and get welded to the bed here. Alright y'all, so I got the gussets made. I'm about to drill the holes. I got them marked off for the headache rack. There we go. Let me drill these holes in. Alright, so I got the gussets done. We're going to go ahead and bolt them on.
It's the calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were before. You best start bracing. Did you think you could keep us out?
Alright, so all we got to do now is weld it. Probably do a stitch weld, or I might fully weld it. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to need enough room. You want it flush right here. So I'll probably tack it on the inside first. I might actually just weld it from the inside, that way we don't have no obstruction right here and it'll look clean. Alright, so we got the spare tire out. It's the next day. We're going to go ahead and weld the gussets. Got our protection from the paint and everything, spark spline. And also, while the tire's off, these little spacers I put on, I'm going to just tack them on to where they stay in place, so that I don't have to fight them if I'm taking the tire on and off. Alright, here I go.
With the ground beneath your feet, with a whisper in the trees. Do you feel us watching? Hunger in our eyes, victories on our minds. It's our time to rise. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution.
Just hold that like that.
Like that?
Yeah.
Things are about to change, it's evolution.
1 second, buddy.
Right here?
Hold it. Whoop. Come on.
That
Go back
good?
a hair. Go back a hair. Hold on.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if they do. Nope, they didn't hold. Do it again. I didn't go low enough.
Is that good?
Yeah. Hold on. Try it like this. Welded it on the inside because I didn't want nothing here, because when I put my boards from my stake pockets, the boards that go on the side, I want all of this real estate right here to be open and no obstruction for the wood. But I think it came out pretty good. We got good penetration here. We took the spacer that we had out and the bolts pulled it into the headache rack, so it looks as it should. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna move on to the other side. Alright y'all, so we got it back together. Only thing we got left is the headache rack part. You know, gotta make the part for the protect the glass. We got the gussets welded in. It's all bolted up again, looking sharp. Alright y'all, just left the metal yard.
Picked up some old metal to make my sides and such, and the stuff for the headache rack. We're going to be using the flat bar and the square tubing for the headache rack and the angle iron for the sides here. And you're looking at $175 worth of metal. Doesn't go far. Got my lovely assistant showing it. But that's a 3/4 inch square tubing. We're going to do probably 5 of those, I think, going up about every 4 to 6 inches. And we're going to have the flat bar in the middle going up too. So, alright y'all, so the next thing we did is we worked on the tail lights and we brought them back a few inches. So this bracket here was mounted right here. So good 6 inches at least, 6 to 8 inches. We've moved them back pretty much as far as the wires would allow. The factory wiring harness, I don't want to have to cut it and extend it. So I thought it made a big difference bringing them back, and we just reinforced it. You know, we made this and this right here, and you know, it's solid. Alright y'all, so I guess I'm going to start working on the side rail here. It's going to come all the way up to this corner. I'm doing it out of 2-inch angle iron, 1/8 inch thick, and it's going to fasten. It's going to utilize those same 2 bolts that the headache rack is bolt to. So I'll show you what I got here. So it's 119 inches long, and the way I'm not going to do miter cuts on it, I'm going to just do a square miter. Basically I'm just going to cut this square out to where it sets down and then weld my corners. Stay tuned. All I did here was cut these little sections out of these long pieces, enough for this to go down, and I got it clamped in place. So all I got to do is weld it all up, dress it up, and do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so we got the inside welded up. It's just a zoop, zoop, zoop on each side. I may come back and kind of fill the gap right here a little bit and dress it up, or I may leave it the same. I'll probably fill it on the outside, grind it just for aesthetics. Alright, let me go on this side and get that one done. Alright y'all, so all I gotta do now is cut these little squares out right here. Cut them out, and this will go in like so and get welded in. Alright, so we got the side piece in place. Just got it sitting in there right now, and We're going to utilize the bolts that go through here. I'm just going to bolt through right here. And I had to do a good bit of grinding on the top and bottom. I miscalculated my height. I did it 14 1/8. I should have did it 14. And I'm probably going to have to grind some more, even though it's fitting right now, because once I paint it, it's going to be even tighter. So I think I German engineered it. It's too good and tight. We went with a Sharpie through the holes, made our marks, and drilled completely through. We're going to put our bolts in and get it bolted up for now. Alright, so we got tired of grinding on it and test fitting it, and it fitting so darn tight. I didn't like the way it was fitting too tight. And you know that saying where you always got to measure twice before you cut? Well, I should have measured it 3 or 4 times because I was off. So what I did is I stuck this whole thing in the chop saw, and I made a slice which is 1/8 of an inch wide for the blade width on each side, and now I'm going to weld it back together. It's a whole lot easier than sitting there for an hour grinding and losing all your integrity of the metal. So it won't mess with the strength of it or the aesthetics. You'll never be able to tell. Alright, also got that welded back together. I'm not going to put the weld on the outside because there's no need for it. But this is kind of what it's going to look like here. Whoop. Obviously it's going to be more secure, but the racks are going to mount up to this angle iron and that angle iron coming straight up, and we'll have another trimmer right up here. So it'll be a 2 trimmer setup, 1 blower on each side. Alright y'all, so about to take a lunch break. Just wanted to give a little update on where we're at. I went ahead and got a 3/16 angle iron for the back. It's just self-tapped on for right now, but I'm going to bolt it on. Same here. Just got self-taps in it for right now, but I'm going to do just like I did the headache rack with the bolts going completely through. They're going to go completely through this as well. I'm going to reinforce it with pipe to where it doesn't crimp down whenever you tighten it down. And this is also going to be the spot where the mow and go ramp mounts up to. So the way, I don't want this to fall in there because I have it capped off on both ends and it would be nearly impossible to get it out. So what I'm doing is putting the bolt through. Actually, I need to go all the way. And I'm getting the socket the exact same size to hold it where I need it. Flush, like so. And then I can go ahead and weld them. Good?
Yes, you are, boss.
y'all, so I'm working on this here. Got it welded in, the little pipes. So, why isn't it going all the way through? Oh, that one goes through. Let's investigate why it's not going through. Ooh, I guess I should have made sure I had that straight, huh? So, I got a lot of filling to do and maneuvering. This one too. Bad. But I got lucky on this one. This one's right. This is not too bad. I still have to fill the gap. But luckily I got a big enough pipe in there for mess ups. And this was quite a mess up. Alright, almost got my mistake fixed. So I've got about that much to drill out to get some room up in there. Other than that, considering what I had to work with, fixed pretty easy. That one's almost through. This one over here is good. That one's good. And that one's good. Somewhat. Yeah. So I just have to grind these down flat. Same here. And then drill them out a little bit. Alright. So I managed to get those fixed. I can't believe I was able to fix that, but surprised myself. This side's good. Good to go.
The very next evening.
So I'm standing in a building because it's very windy and cold out there. You probably won't be able to hear me, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what I got going on so far. So we just marked the holes that we have to drill through the angle iron, you know, to have the bolts like that side. Right here, this is wood's gonna be under here. And we gotta make holes to go through that. And come up with something, probably gonna do some sheet metal with the shape of the tire all the way through, and that'll strengthen all of this up.
fight you. You don't wanna know if I feel alright. I don't wanna just forgive you, I just wanna be fine. I've been waiting for a sign to light up, yeah. And your heart is out of sight. I just wanna feel mine. Hey you, I'm gonna be the one for another one. Hey you, maybe then you'll know that I was never one. I don't wanna see you, I don't wanna fear you tonight.
Alright y'all, so we're working on the truck again. We went to pick some expanded metal up. This is flat, not raised. Number 9 3/4 inch. And as you can see, it's got a lot of rust on it. So Christina's been helping me out and grinding all that off. And we're gonna cut 2 sections for these side rails over here. So let us get after it. We're working on these side rails. We're doing the expanded metal. We're going to have these pieces right here welded into there, and then these 3 sections are going to be seamed behind it like so. So I'm going to have them like this. And then on this side, same thing. I'm going to have that, you know, right there to match up with the other side. Right here, basically just kind of got something that looked like that. I just took my piece of metal. This is 14 gauge, by the way. I just kind of, you know, did my thing. So I still have to grind right here, there, and there, you know, to kind of get that a little better. But I'm going to weld this piece in there. But before I weld it in, I'm going to probably cut a little section out right here and put some of this behind it, just to make it look a little nicer. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side once I cut this out. I picked up a couple of these fenders from Tractor Supply. We're going to be using these on the build. The one that's rounded over like this, I'm going to be using on the 71 F350. And the way it looks like on this side, it's more flat. I'm going to use this one on the 22. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to cut right down the middle. And this piece will be used for the 22, that piece will be for the 71. And that's also how I got this curve, because it lines up perfect on the tire when you set it on it. So kind of cheated a little bit with that, but I got it. Alright, that's what it's going to look like, pretty much. I'm going to take the racks off the side and weld them in and weld the expanded metal behind it, and I think it'll look pretty cool. Alright, so I'm about to already put in my little flat bore cross brace here. Grind it down flat so this would sit flat. I'm going to tack all this down, then I'll work my way down there. So we got the expanded metal in. We tacked about every, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches. You can look on the back and see. So we got one here, you know. I think that'll do it. I'll work on that end down there. Alright, so this is what I was talking about with the expanded metal. Did the little cutouts, got them welded up like so. Tack them in and I cut out the little spots where the bolts are. As you can see, there's a little gap right here. Made a little boo-boo on the measurements, but that's okay because I got to put expanded metal behind it, and I can just tack everything. It'll be as one. It'll look awesome. You don't even see the spot. So let me do that and I'll show you what that looks like.
I don't know where the time goes, just flies when I hold you close. In my arms with your eyes closed, for the first time I've got hope. I don't
never wanna lose you now.
Alright, y'all, finally got a chance to mess with the headache rack a little bit more. At least I'm gonna try. I got this 3/4 inch square tubing mild steel that I'm gonna use. I'm probably gonna do about 5 or 6 bars going across here. And I also have this 2-inch thin flat bar, which I'm gonna go up and down 2 of them right here. And basically cut out squares to where the tube can go through it. And I'll tack it all together and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I got my little squares drawn out here. And basically what I'm going to do, I think to make the cutouts, is I'm going to use these little hole saws that I just picked up. And it's pretty much the right size, only it's round. So what I'm going to do is drill through them, find the centers, you know, drill them, and then take my saw and just touch up the corners with my, let's see, using a jigsaw with a metal blade. I think it'll work fine because it's pretty thin metal. Alright, so what I did is I just drew a little X corner to corner to find the center, and I'm probably just going to use these self taps just to get my pilot hole. I find it works pretty good, these self tapping screws, just to get your hole started. The center punch works okay, but I like this technique as well. You don't have to go all the way through, just, you know, get it going. looking like. So this part slips in obviously because it's cut to the right height. So what I'm going to do is draw me a line on each side with a straight edge and make my cuts and get it to fit in there to where it'll drop down. lucky and it fits perfect right in between those bars. It pressure fits. So I think that'll look pretty cool. I just got to weld some little tabs to where this can mount to and drill my hole. Alright, so I went ahead and mounted the light to this little piece of flat bar here, and I made me a hole for my wires to go through. Pre-drilled my holes, put my screws through it. These are some stainless screws. I'm just going to mount it, and that's basically where it would be, like so. I'm just going to tack that flat bar in place, and that should do it for that. Alright, so I got that mounted in place. Alright, here's another update on the headache rack. Got this little flashy light dealy. It goes green and white. Picked it up for like $100 on Amazon. It came with a magnet mount where it had 4 little round 2.5 inch, 3 inch round mounts, and it sat a little bit taller and looked kind of tacky because it was hanging off the bar on each end. So I took those off and just cut the bracket a little bit and drilled me a hole right in the center of that bracket, and I just have a bolt going through it with a lock washer, and I got a little rubber isolator gasket in between it just to help from vibrations and such. But it's about 1 inch gap. Another thing I did is, if you notice, it's more this way. I didn't want it to hang over the headache rack in case I ever put something big against the headache rack. I didn't want it to hit the light, so I flushed it up. One step closer. I got the wood down. I actually have a platform now. So next step, put the headache rack back on. on, y'all? Been a long time. Figured I'd give y'all a little bit of update. There's a lot of wind and background noise, sorry about that. But, so we're making a little more headway on the truck. It's filthy because we've been working, it's been raining, it's been crazy. But this is what we got so far on this side. So this right here is not a toolbox, it's just a box that contains the spare tire. And in order to get the spare tire out, I'm gonna have something that covers this little area. You just remove that, take your nuts off, and the tire comes right out. We also have a toolbox that's gonna be here. I'll show it to you, it's on the inside. Also have the little lights in. And we got this box built. And this is the box that goes in the back on the passenger side right here. And that's what it looks like on the inside. I'm going to be putting the POR 15 over everything. That way I don't have to have it sandblasted and primed and painted. I did prime all the little corners where I polished it with the sander to get the edges smooth and all that. I didn't want to put it on bare metal, so I put some primer on that. I just gotta paint that and bolt it up. And I'll show you. So the part that's gonna seal it is gonna fit on the back side of this. And when you shut the door, it seals against it, and it's gonna have like a little shaft that goes through here, just like the other box. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the inside where the door closes. It seals up against this. I'm going to be using the sticky back foam all the way around it. That way when the door shuts, it presses against that. It just has an opening where you put the lock on right there. I had to do it in 2 pieces, so it's actually going to look like this. And bolt in. I had to do it 2 pieces like this so I could fit through the opening to bolt it up. And I'll show you what that looks like out there. So this is what this box looks like here. I'm using these type of locks to where it just opens and closes. And because I don't have any foam on this part right here, this part's not installed pushing out on the door. You know, I gotta use this magnet to grab it, to pull it out, because it doesn't have, you know, pressure. As you can see, I also don't have the backing on it because this has to go in from the back first, and I need to install it, but I was waiting to paint everything first. Still have to, you know, make the fender and make the box for that, but just giving a little update. So I wanted to add a chain to this to keep this level whenever it's open. Not really, you know, to handle any kind of weight. In case I want to set like a jug or a bucket or something on here, it'll at least do that. That way it doesn't fall all the way to the ground. And the chain's adjustable. I just welded a bolt to it. Pretty cool. So I added the chain. That's done. I also did a piece of angle iron, and I drilled my holes through here and basically welded the nuts on the back side, where all I had to do was put the bolt through it. That way I don't need to have a wrench on the back side, but I went ahead and put a piece of flat bar here to where it can make that same kind of contour like the other side. And now I just got to put a piece of sheet metal going there and fasten it some kind of way, and that part will be done. Alright, so it's the next day. Got this piece mounted in place. It's not perfect, it's got a few little flaws in it, but I'm happy with it. That's what that looks like. And it's held on by one bolt there, and one there, and one there. And basically it's just for aesthetics. Doesn't really have a purpose, just to match the other side, kind of close off this little area. I probably could have built the box like that and get a little bit more room, but I didn't go that route. Maybe next time. Alright, so I wanted to kind of document how I did the fenders here. So I bought these fenders at Tractor Supply, and I forget how wide they were. I want to say probably like 9 inches wide, which is not quite wide enough for my 1-ton truck, the tires that's on it. And so what I did is I cut them in half, and then I extended it to the length I needed it to be. And these fenders have a curved side on one side and a flat, you know. So I chose the flat side for my 22 pickup truck, and for the 71 truck that we have, I'm going to use the round ones. So I bought 2 fenders, cut them in half. I'm going to use the round ones for the old truck and the straight ones for the new truck. And this is that mat that I'm using for the inside of the fender. It's real thick, durable, and I did it already on the other fender. I'll show you. I just bolted it all along here and extended it to where I want it to be. I also cut me some little pieces of metal the same thickness as this. Went in 11 inches. That way I'll have something to bolt the rubber to. So I got to go ahead and weld this in place. One here and one up there. Here's the other piece. So it's like 2.5 inches extension on the bottom of each side, and it goes in 11 inches. So I'll show you what it looks like on the outside. Alright, so that's what the fender is going to look like basically. You can see the little extension, 2.5 inch extension there. It meets the box, kind of tapers in, and it bolts to this section here. It also has a lag bolt going directly up into the wood right here, hole in the center, and basically just have this bracketry going up together. This is just temporary because the box is going to bolt up to this plate here and also to here. So that's just temporary to hold the fender secure. This is just galvanized metal that you know, angle iron. But this is that rubber that I was talking about that extends the fender to the right distance that I need, and it's working just fine. Alright, so this is what it looks like with the foam backing going around here. I don't have the pieces bolted in, so I'm not going to shut the door, it'll fall on me. But basically, they bolt up right there on the corners. And when the door shuts, the foam backing seals it. At least that's the idea. So again, this is the piece for the other box. I'm putting the foam tape all the way around it. It's about 1/8 inch thick. So that's it mounted up temporarily. It just has the lag bolt in the middle, but just to kind of get a look at what it looks like. Like so. And like I said, I still have to put the rubber mat. Alright guys, so I think I came up with a plan to attach this part to the box. I just took some leftover metal, same thickness as this, and just basically kind of made some angle iron, only not at a 90 degree. And basically going to weld that to the fender right there, probably actually like right here. And then I'll drill me a hole at the end right here to bolt to the bottom of the box. And I'll have one here and one at the end of the metal down here, and bolt up to the box. Alright, so I made a little mark on where these are supposed to be, right there, and one right there. So I went ahead and just put my pliers on that, clamp that down, and go ahead and weld that on. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Alright guys, so that worked out real good. It is super solid. I mean, it shakes the whole truck. It's solid.
And all I did was shoot a couple of self-tappers in to get my holes where I need them to be. I'm going to pull those out and put in some bolts and nuts through there. I'm happy with that. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to work on is this little triangular piece right here where it meets the fender in the box. So I got to go ahead and make a pattern and see what I can come up with. Alright, I got a sheet of 3/16 here for that little piece, and I'm going to have to probably be cutting it right here, you know, that kind of shape, but I don't know the exact shape. So I got some more of that rubber that I used earlier, and in order to have a handle where I can, you know, test fit it, trim it, you know, test fit it, trim it. It'd be kind of hard to hold in place because it's kind of flimsy and it doesn't have anything to hold on to, so I just put a piece of this galvanized angle bolted through it. That way, you know, I'll have something to hold on to while I'm tracing it and cutting and trimming. Alright guys, let's see what it looks like. Like I said, this little handle came in handy. So, fits pretty dang good. The only problem is this needs about 1/8 of an inch off of it. So luckily I got these lines to go by. So I'm just gonna follow along here and cut 1/8 inch off and it should fit just fine. I'd say that's a pretty good fit right there. Good pattern. I just got it sitting there. Looks good. Alright, so I went ahead and took my pattern and transferred my line over to my piece of metal. Go ahead and I'm going to use my grinder first and just kind of scribe it about 3 or 4 times, you know, just to kind of make a groove. And that way it's not so thick, but I'm going to use a jigsaw with a metal blade to cut it. And usually once you know, use the grinder and get it thinner, it cuts right through it pretty easy. So it's a lot easier than going all the way through with this. Alright, like I said earlier, I took my grinder and I scribed it about 3 or 4 times, real lightly. And I basically just started on this end, holding it with 2 hands real, and just letting the grinder do the work. Don't push on it. Scribe it a few times. Now I'm gonna use my jigsaw. I said 3/16 earlier, but this is actually 1/8 inch. Alright, so I got it pretty close, as you can see, touching right here, and about 1/4 of an inch gap, maybe an 1/8 inch gap right here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and draw me a line along here, sand it down and get it to fit perfect. Alright y'all, so we got it to fit pretty good. I think once everything is painted black, the gap that you see there, you won't even notice that. I think it's gonna look real nice. So now I gotta figure out how to attach that piece to the fender and the box, or just maybe the box. I might just weld it to a piece of angle iron and bolt it to the box. Alright guys, so I went ahead and bolted up a piece of bracket angle iron right here. And as you can see, it fits nicely. It made me a little mark on where I'm going to attach it to this little triangle piece. So I'm going to unbolt this and weld it to this. Alright, so what I'm doing here is screwed this little bracket that I just showed you a while ago to the thing, and I got my same bolts that were bolted through the box, and I'm just going to go ahead and tack weld them in place. That way I don't have to hold that side if I ever want to pull it off. Okay, I got those bolts welded on. I went ahead and put some nuts on here because I want to cut these bolts shorter, because I don't need an inch or 2 poking into the box, so I'm going to cut them short with the grinder here, but that's going to booger up the ends a little bit and it's going to make it hard for that nut to screw on. So I'm going to cut it first and then I'm going to unscrew it. That way it'll work the thread the way it's supposed to be. Alright, so I went ahead and cut the bolts. And that's off. Gotta get the nut out of here, but you see the point. Clean, nice clean edge. Alright guys, so I went ahead and tacked that in. Just 3 tacks. I think that's all it needs. It's pretty solid. And that's what that looks like.
I'm gonna try to get this on camera, doing this with one hand. Alright, I'm gonna put the camera down. Alright, there we go. So that's where the bolts are going through. I've got a little bit of play in it so I can adjust it to get it just right. Like right here. You know, get it nice and flush. Let's see what that looks like bolted up. Alright, got it all bolted up. Right there. Looks pretty good. It's still touching a little bit on that top corner. I'm gonna have to sand that a little bit more when I take it back apart before I paint it. But overall, pretty good. Not bad. Alright, so I went ahead and took this front piece off. I don't know if you can tell, but that bottom is bowed out a little bit. And that's because I was too lazy and cheap to go buy the right size metal. And so I took two pieces and made it the size I needed. And that kind of got it too hot and warped it. So I'm going to try to correct that. And basically what I'm doing is I had it bolted through the back right here. And this kept it from going all the way to the box. What I did is I cut about, I don't know, about 3/8 of an inch off of it. And I took the bolt out and put a nut on it just to put it in this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tack the bolt. That way it looks a little cleaner. It doesn't have any bolts there. And I don't need 2 wrenches to fasten that part. And hopefully by cutting 3/8 of an inch off the inside, I could pull that in a little bit. We'll see. Alright, got it welded, grind it flush. Let's go see how it fits. Alright, y'all, so it still sticks out just a little bit, but I can live with that. So I'm thinking what I may do to kind of hide the imperfections here is I got that Line-X vinyl liner, Raptor liner, whatever you want to call it. I might go ahead and coat that front part in that and maybe do the same thing on the other side just to give it a matched look. So also the fender, I just realized that it's poking out about 1/2 inch to 1 inch further out than the other one, so I've got to make some adjustments on that as well. So I went ahead and mounted the back box back on because I had to make a few modifications and check a few things. So initially when I made this, the exhaust was a little too close. It wasn't touching, but it was close. And when I'd hit bumps, the pipe would hit that, or certain times if the motor was idling low or high, it would you know, rattle, make some noise back there. So what I did is I got it spaced about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch, and I put this U-bolt with these spacers like this, and I'll go ahead and start it up. And you can see it's pretty solid now. So that's what it looks like on the inside for now. I'm going to go ahead and cut these short to where they're not, you know, interfering too much with anything. So this box here, I'm going to be keeping my jack in and maybe some jack stands, some blocks, and my impact to change. This would be my tire changing center. So there we go. Alright guys, I'm on the driver's side here, about to get ready to build this box. So this box is going to hold the gas cans, obviously. And if you notice, the fill for the truck, the filler neck is right there. I chose to just keep it like that, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't want to have to mount anything right here or put a hole through the bed or anything like that. But as you can see, if we were stranded on the side of the road, if we ran out of gas, it'd be kind of difficult to pour this into that without putting a hole up here. So I ended up picking up this little battery operated pump from Track Supply for like $40, $45, I don't remember what it was. But we're gonna test that out to see if that'll work, because we'll have spare gas, but we need a way to get it into the tank. So I'm gonna see how good that works. Also, if you notice the little platform that the gas cans sit on, I'm gonna be recycling that from the trailer setup that we had previously. I had 2 of them, and what it was, it just held the blower rack on the trailer. I had a blower rack on each side, and it was just a piece of wood that was mounted. And I've been hanging on to it to see if I could use it for something. And I was like, I wonder if those 3 gas cans will fit up in there. I mean, damn, it fits perfect. So all I got to do is basically come all the way up on the side and mount up here and go up on that side. And I'm gonna do a little back on it too, just to kind of hold all the gas cans in place. And I'm probably just gonna put this expanded metal on the bottom, because it's not gonna be a sealed box. It's just gonna be a place where I can store my gas cans. But it's gonna look just like the other side, you know, with the fold down door, skirted bed. So I got the gas can sitting on this bucket to kind of simulate where it would be when the door of the box opens. I'll be able to set this gas can on here and then stick the pump in. Hose is going in. We're gonna test it out and see if it'll fill it up and see how long it'll take. Go for it. And she's pumping.
We dripping a little.
Where are we
right here.
dripping? Oh, okay, I might have to tighten this up. So unfortunately we couldn't get it to stop dripping. I don't know why. That's kind of a bummer. Now, obviously we're not going to use this on a regular basis. This is just for emergencies. And is it empty?
We're almost, yeah, we're empty.
Alright, so we're going to try it again. This thing is full. It's a 2-gallon can. I'm going to see how long it takes to transfer it. Go ahead. So we got a little bit of a leak right here.
I feel like it only did it once.
So we'll try to figure that out. Just want to make sure that, make sure that hose doesn't pop out. But as you can see, it's flowing pretty dang fast.
I go, hey, Bubba, I'm flowing. Like a freaking river, I'm flowing.
And it's, I was about to say, and it's done.
Well, I gotta drop it down.
Okay.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's like less than a minute so far.
We're doing pretty good. We're like almost done. I'm at the bottom of the tank now.
That's cool. That's quick enough for me. So I'm gonna show you all what I'm keeping in this box here. Went ahead and added my chain. I got a couple of blocks in case I want to jack something up and I just need a little bit extra. I have some tarps in case I want, the situation is muddy and I got to lay it out or got a leak to clean up or something. I got my tire inflator that works with my Ryobi stuff. Got a breaker bar, pad fence drive. I've got a bunch of tools in a bag, mainly my impact and impact sockets and batteries and such. Then I got my jack stands, my jack, and the arm for the jack. I ended up just leaving those bolts that were sticking up because what it did is it just elevated this up and I could just put that underneath. That's pretty much it. So I haven't tested it for water or anything, you know, like water getting in it. I'm not too worried about it. Like they have a few little gaps here and there. I'm not really worried about this stuff getting wet. I'm sure a little bit's gonna build up down there. I'll keep an eye on it, you know, keep it dry, touch up the rust every so often, but that's gonna be fun. Alright y'all, so I got this part cut out. This is where the gas cans are going to go, and I'm cutting out the door opening. I have the sides cut completely through and the bottom, but before I cut the top, I'm going to go ahead and weld my hinges in place, 3 of them, and all they are is these little things here. They fit into each other. You weld on this side and then on that side, and it becomes a hinge. So I got it pinched down with these little clamps to where it's nice and even, because if it's not even and you weld these slightly crooked and you go to open it, it doesn't work right. It puts it in a bind and wants to break the welds off. So I'm going to do my best to keep these straight and try to weld that, and after that I'll cut my top out and try it out. Alright, so I got them welded on. One thing you have to remember when welding these on, if you don't want them to slide off after you open it, you got to weld one of them backwards. And what I'm saying is, like, you weld here, 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 but one of them you want to weld this way. That way when it opens up, you can't slide it off. Now if you wanted to do that, you can, but the only problem with that is if you don't have it perfectly true, every time you open and close this thing, it's going to want to work its way off, and once it gets off, it's real hard to get back on when it's these small hinges here. So that's why I want mine fixed. I don't want it to be able to come on and off. And plus, I don't have very much tolerance at all here, so if it starts moving just a little bit, it's not going to want to close right. So that's why I did that. I learned that on the other boxes. But alright guys, working on the truck again. Still working on the box right here with the gas fill neck. So in the last video we went ahead and built all this up. Got all that done. And we also made the side panel with the door and the hinges. And today I just added these brackets right here, which are going to bolt to those pieces right there. And along right here, we got 4 bolts that mount right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mount that back up and let y'all see what that looks like. After several attempts, about an hour, 2 hours, we got it mounted. It kind of fought us the whole way. Mostly my fault because I didn't ask for any help. But got it open. As you can see, I got this chain here. I'm about to weld a bolt onto this face and bolt that up because I don't want this door to get tweaked again, because that was one issue we had earlier. Let me turn this light off so you can see. Now, but it looks pretty good. That's all that counts. Alright, so I got my chain mounted up here, like so. Alright y'all, so we're going to call it for tonight. Got that part mounted. Like so. So I'm just going to have some foam on that piece right here. But that's only just to keep pressure on the door, that way it doesn't rattle, and that way when you take the pin out, it'll just, you know, fall out pretty easy. But I'm pretty happy with that. So all I have left to fabricate and build is this whole back section. I'm probably going to do a box here too. That's going to be much later though. I think what I'm going to focus on now is actually finishing the sides on each side, take it all apart, paint it, and then bolt it all back up. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow we can do all that.
The next day.
Alright, new game plan. I went ahead and just took everything off. I'm not going to go that route. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't look too bad like that, but what I had to do is take everything off, and went ahead and cleaned it up and took it all apart, all the pieces, to paint it. And I did the POR15, which is the paint over rust. So all I did was kind of prime all the little shiny parts where it didn't have rust, and it came out pretty good. I gotta put another coat on it, and the box is over here. And there. Gotta put another coat. I also have to paint the bottom of this and the bottom of these two things. I got all of that painted, the fender, all of that. So I'm gonna let all that dry and come back and put another coat and paint the other side. So this is what I was using to hold the spare tire. It's just a stud, a wheel stud that you put in like a rotor or a hub or whatever. But it usually has this little spline, these little splines right here that whenever you tighten it down, it stays in place. Which it seemed like a good idea for the spare tire because I don't need to get on this side. I just take the spare tire off. But in order for me to pull it in and out on my particular application, I had to pull this back out, and I smoothed out the little splines to where, you know, it can fasten all the way. The only problem with that is I don't have much to hold on to on this end, so I didn't want to have to go buy some bolts when I already bought these, and I already had these nuts, so I'm just going to go ahead and weld that on there, fill it full of weld, and this is what it looks like when you're done. I think that's pretty hot. What do you think? So this is the big box that we built for the truck. It's 36 wide, 14.5 tall, 14.5 deep. So I wanted to show what I was doing here. So I had a piece that was just shy of about 3/8 of an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch right here. And rather than go buy another whole piece and use this for another project, I just got some angle iron here, and I'm just gonna tack that in place, seal up right here, and that way I don't have to go buy another $50 piece of metal because it's not quite big enough. Alright guys, finally got the sides of the bed done. It's all painted, mounted, finished. So this is all the stuff that goes into this box here. We've got a jack stands, a bag for my impact and air inflators, some tarps, some blocks, a breaker bar, and the arm for the jack. I'll show you how all that fits in there in a little bit. Sorry for all the traffic. They're always busy on this road here. So this is the gas box. These are the gas cans that's going to fit in there. That's where I'm going to keep all my gas. Right here, this is the essentials box. Basically, a little bit of everything. We got the chainsaws, the reciprocating saw, bar awl, chemicals, soap, rubber gloves, and also right here, where the spare tire is, all of that stuff goes. So if you notice, there's a cubby down there. So the green can tucks away over there, and then this jug goes in there. Alright, so everything's in the box. That's these tarpaulins. And everything's behind there, the jack and all the tools. I don't know if you can see that up there, but all the stuff is in there, the jug and the tools. We got the gas box here, two gallons and one gallon, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's the filler net. It looks like it's hard to pump gas in it, but it's really not. And then all of this stuff in this big box. Not too bad.
tomorrow.
One look, the heat is rising, and I've been cold for so long. One touch and we're igniting, setting fire to it all. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think that we can stop it now, 'cause baby our love is gonna burn down. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think I wanna stop it now, 'cause baby
make a round. Let's see what it looks like. There's a lot of mowers in weight. We'll probably never have this scenario, but you never know. Might have to tag team a big property or something. Look at that. That's crazy looking. It's taking it though.